my name's Marissa and I'm going to show you how to make this lovely bracelet today. And we're going to be using all of our beads because we're going to make each little component as we move along the bracelet. And then at the very end, I'm going to do something else that I did not do with this one. So I'm just going to add a little bit to this bracelet that I'm going to make with you today. So I have about 2.5 feet threaded onto a size I think it's an 11 needle, and I'm using the Dragon Thread Gold Tan size 6. You are going to need size 6. If you're using Dragon Thread, use a size 6 for this bracelet. Also, I would normally use a white thread, but since I'm doing this tutorial for everybody, I want the thread to show, because I know when it doesn't show, sometimes viewers have trouble with what I'm doing because they can't see my thread. So I'm going to use the tan for that reason. Okay, so we're going to start by picking up a DiscDuo, and since I am using these, I'm using the Jet Picasso. I want to get the side that has like more Picasso on it. So I am gonna be careful on how I pick them up, only because I want to use you know, the prettier side. Okay, so pick up a DiscDuo, pick up a SuperDuo, a crystal, and our first, another SuperDuo, another DiscDuo, and then I'm going to do the SuperDuo 3mm crystal, SuperDuo again. So our first little component is going to be made different from the rest of our components, because from here on out they're all going to be connected, so you really can't start it the way you start the first one, because the first one, obviously, we're starting with the first holes that we're going through. It's going to put it to where that's the inner part of our project. So after our first component, we just have to take an extra step, and I will show you what I'm talking about when we do our next component. Okay, so I have my DiscDuo, SuperDuo, Crystal, SuperDuo, DiscDuo, SuperDuo, Crystal, SuperDuo. Coming around, and I'm making a circle. Now I'm going to reinforce all of that by going through all of my beads. Okay, so I'm going to hold it in my hand because it's easier for me to do it that way, and I'm just going to go through everything that I've sewn together, trying not to skip any beads. And I just put cream on my hand, so I'm having a hard time pulling this thread because it slips out of my hands, but I think this will be okay. And if you go through it one more time, that's fine too. This is a thinner thread, so you won't have any problem. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and sew all the way to my SuperDuo, and then I'm gonna hop on over to the other hole of my SuperDuo, and then in between our SuperDuos, these two little areas, we're gonna do 11-0, 15-0, 11-0. Whoops, oh yeah, I got them all. And then coming out of our SuperDuo, we're gonna do an 8-0. I'm turning my piece, going through my DiscDuo, turning my piece again, picking up another 8/0, going through this next SuperDuo. And then again, I'm coming out of my SuperDuo, so I'm going to add a 11/0, 15/0, 11/0, and then I'm going to go through my next SuperDuo. Then I'm going to pick up an 8/0, go through my DiscDuo, and I like these colors together. I think they're pretty. Another 8/0 through my next SuperDuo and down my little seed beads, through my SuperDuo and out my 8/0. When I'm coming out of my 8/0, I'm going to pick up, and it's going to cup a little bit. You don't want it to cup a whole lot, so let me turn it to the side. It's not really cupping a whole lot right now. All right, so I'm coming out of my 8/0, and I'm in between the 8/0 and the DiscDuo. I'm going to add an 11/0 in between these two beads here, in between my 8/0 and my DiscDuo. Coming out of my DiscDuo, I'm going to do it again, adding an 11/0. Then I'm just going to go down all my beads, which is my 8/0, SuperDuo, little seed beads, going through my SuperDuo now and my 8/0 again. I'm going to add another 11/0, go through my DiscDuo, and you're probably wondering, well, why didn't I just add the 11/0 when I added my 8/0? Well, you can do that if you want, but this is how I did my practice piece, and I like how it came out. So I honestly don't know if it will affect it or not, but since this is how I did it when I first started it, I'll just stick to how I did it. So plus you get to put in another thread in there, reinforcing, and since it's a thin thread, it works just fine. So coming out of my 11/0 now we're going to go from 11/0 to 11/0, adding 6 15/0s in between them. 4, 5, 6. So I'm coming out of this 11/0. I'm going to go through my next one. And then I'm going to go down these seed beads again, the SuperDuo, and my little seed beads. And this is strengthening your piece. So as long as you use a size 6 thread and a thinner needle, your piece will be fine. Coming out my 11/0, again 6 15/0s, 5 6. Make sure I have my 6. Yeah. And wait, do I? Yeah. And then I'm going to connect them to my next 11/0. Now I want to sew down to these 3 little seed beads here in between my SuperDuos, and I'll show you what I'm going to do next. Okay, so now I'm coming out of these 3 little seed beads here in the middle, and I'm going to add my clasp. So I'm going to use a toggle, and I'm going to, coming out of this 11/0, I'm going to pick up an 11/0, an 8/0, and then I'm going to pick up part of my toggle, and I'm going to go back down my 8/0. Like that, and then I'm going to pick up another 11/0, and then I'm going to go through these little grouping seed beads again, and I'm going to pull, and I'm just going to go through everything again to reinforce. So coming out of this 11/0, I'm going to go up this 11/0 up here through my 8/0, through my 8/0, Whoops, I missed my 11-0. That's before my 8-0. Whoops. I don't know how I did that, but all right, so I gotta untangle my way out of there. Okay. And then I have to pick up that 11-0 before my 8-0. And I've tangled myself some more. So I will do this off camera and then I will meet you back. Okay, so I already reinforced. I did have to remove my needle and untangle my thread that way. And well, all I did was pull out my thread, but I had to take off my needle first, and then I was able to, once I did that, I put my needle back on and then I reinforced my toggle. So once I reinforced my toggle and I came out of these 3 little seed beads here, I just sewed through my SuperDuo, my 8-0, and then all through these seed beads up here, down all the way to now I'm coming out of this little section over here. These little 3 seed beads on this side. So from here, we're gonna add an 11-0, a 15-0, and an 11-0 because we're going to do this little middle component. So, and for here, we're just gonna do a little bit of ladder stitch by going through these seed beads. I'm coming out on this side and I circled around, went through the other side. And then now I'm going to go through these again, these 3 that I just added. Picking up my 11-0 here. Pulling my thread so that that sets them in place better. And then now I'm going to go down these 3 again. And then now I'm going to go back up these 3. So now we're ready to do our next component. So to get to the middle, because you know how we worked on this part first, the inner part, to get to there, we're going to do this. First we need to pick up a SuperDuo. Once you pick up your SuperDuo, hop on to the second hole of your SuperDuo. Okay, so from here on out, this is how you're going to do your components. When you're coming out of these 3 little seed beads, you're going to pick up a SuperDuo. When you pick it up, hop on to the other hole. So now from here, you're going to pick up your crystal, your next SuperDuo, and I'm checking my holes as I'm going. And then I'm going to pick up my next DiscDuo, my SuperDuo, my crystal, my SuperDuo, and then my second DiscDuo. So, and I just pulled off my needle. So if you're kind of confused as to what you're going to pick up, you can set it down next to, you can set your beads down next to your little, where you're coming out of. And you'll be able to tell if you're missing any beads or if you've added too many beads. You can see right away if you've got the beads that you need. So from here, you're going to sew through that SuperDuo again. See? So I'm going to sew down the SuperDuo, and we're not yet connected here. So it's gonna hang down. See how it separates? We're gonna connect that in a minute. First, see how it's like that? Okay, we will fix that. First, once you've circled around, go ahead and go through it one more time or 2 more times if you want, just to reinforce. And I do better reinforcing when I'm holding my piece in my hand. So I'm just gonna kind of hold it in my hand. And I'm gonna go through everything, making sure that I don't skip any beads. So, and then if something comes loose like that, just keep going. keep on sewing through and it will fix. And I'm going to sew one more time through everything just so that it's nice and strong. So I'm just following my thread path, going through all these beads again. And so this is a pretty simple step, not hard. So I'm gonna finish doing that and then I will meet you back. So I finished reinforcing and I'm coming out of the SuperDuo here. Of the SuperDuo. Hop on to this other hole of your SuperDuo. And then once you're doing that, we're ready to connect our little component to these 3 little seed beads here. Okay? All right, so now we're going to, I'm just turning it in my hand and I'm just going to go through this SuperDuo here, the top hole or the hole we haven't used. And now we're ready to complete our component by adding our 8/0, going through our DiscDuo, adding our next 8/0, going through our SuperDuo. Now from here we're going to add our little seed beads, our 11/0, 15/0, 11/0 grouping, going through the SuperDuo here, and then adding another 8/0, going through our DiscDuo, adding another 8/0, going through the SuperDuo, and then sew through these seed beads here on the side, our little connecting seed beads. And I'm just turning my piece in my hand. Let me lighten it a little bit. And I'm gonna go through my SuperDuo and my 8/0, and now I'm ready to add my 11/0s. So 1 11/0 after my 8/0 and before my DiscDuo, and then coming out of my okay, my thread seems to be coming out of my needle today. I don't think I'm using a size 11 needle. I think I'm using a size 10 needle, because I'm noticing now that I'm looking at it, the eye is pretty big, so I think that's why I'm having a hard time here. Okay, so coming out of my 8/0, I'm going to pick up an 11/0, go through my DiscDuo. Coming out of my DiscDuo goes on another 11/0, down my SuperDuo, down my seed beads. And so from here on out, you're just going to continue making your component the way you made your first one. So another 11/0 goes on. Coming out of my DiscDuo, another 11/0 goes on. And again, sewing through these seed beads here. Don't get caught in anything. I can't see too well, so there we go. And now I'm going to sew all the way up to my 11/0, going through this SuperDuo, through my 8/0 and my 11/0. And now here's where we add our 6 15/0 seed beads, and we're going to go from this 11/0 to this 11/0. So I'm going to do 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to go to this one. All right, and then down the 8/0, and then And I'm just following going through all my beads, just going in circles, following my thread path. And if you can't get all of your beads in one in one stick, that's okay. Let's go through as many as you can until you make it to where you need to be, and then add your little seed beads. Okay, so I have my 6/15-ohs, and I'm going to sew through there. Okay, so now from here, I'm just going to sew down my SuperDuo, my little grouping here, SuperDuo, all of this here, until I get to this grouping. And once I'm coming out of this 11-oh, I'm going to start again. I'm going to do my next component, and I'm going to keep adding components until I have enough for the wrist, for my wrist size. And I think for mine, I'm going to need either 9 or 10. So go ahead and do the amount of components you need, and then I will meet you back. Okay, so I finished making my components, and I added the other part of my clasp. And as I said, I was going to do something different, a bit different with this one. Now on this one, as you can see, I just attached my components just with these little seed beads in the middle. And then for this one, what I'm doing is once I added my toggle, and see, once you add the second part of your clasping, you can be done with your bracelet. But what I did was, I already did one side. I came out, and then I went through, then I went through these little that little grouping there. And then I came out of my SuperDuo, out of my 8-oh. Now from here, you can sew all through the outside through the edge beads here, or you can just remember your 8-oh goes through your DiscDuo. What you can do is also cut through your DiscDuo, come out of your 8-oh, and in between each of these 8-ohs, I added a crystal. Well, okay, you can see it now. So now I'm on this side. I'm going to do this side. And I did the same thing. After I finished adding my crystal here, I actually sewed through my outside beads, and then I came through, sewed through here, and then to my 8-oh, and then I just cut through my DiscDuo, came out, and now I'm coming out of my 8-oh. And I'm going to keep adding these little 3mm crystals. And if you catch your 11-oh, I think that's okay too, because they're both connected to your DiscDuo like that. So now, as I said, you can choose to sew through these however you want. So I'm just going to go through my 8-oh here. And then I'm going to add my little 3mm crystal here. Okay, and then I'm just going to continue adding my little crystals all throughout. And see, I'm going through this 8-oh seed bead here. And I did catch my 11-oh, but that's okay. And then I'm just going to go through my DiscDuo like that and continue adding my crystals. Okay, so once I finish that, I will meet you back and we'll look at our piece together. Okay, so here we go. I have finished my bracelet. I have added all my crystals and I have tied my knots. And this is what I have. And you should have something similar. And I'm going to hold it in my hand so you can see the crystals better. So this is how it looks. And it's pretty neat. I think it's pretty easy to make and it looks pretty nice when you're done. So this is one of them. This is the one I did just now. And this is the first one that I did. And as you can see, they look, they look pretty different. It just depends on the colors that you use. And Also, on this one, I did not add the crystals in between the components, which I think it looks pretty nice also. So it just, it just depends on the kind of what you're looking for. So this is what we have, or this is what I have, and you should have something similar. Okay, well, I hope you enjoy making this, and thank you very much for watching.